check out The Pick Is In. It's on the ESPN app. It's phenomenal. That little piece there reminded me of it. Okay, defensive players flew off the board early in this year's draft, and now the conversation becomes, how can these rookies make an instant impact on their new team? So let's start in Washington, where the Commanders took Sonny Styles at 7. Styles, an upgrade for a Washington defense that finished 30th or worse in efficiency, yards per play, and takeaways last season. Commanders could muster only 10 takeaways, their fewest in a season all time. Only the Jets had fewer in 2025. That was 0 for the Jets. They're catching a stray in this. As Commanders GM Adam Peters tells us, Styles is just what they need.
He's an incredible sideline-to-sideline defender, a guy who's for today's NFL. He makes the field smaller. He can blitz, he can cover, he can tackle. He does everything really well. So for us, it was a pretty easy decision when he's still on the board. The pick didn't have to think too hard when he's still there.
Okay, so it's interesting because as you hear Adam Peters talking about the versatility of Sonny Styles, it makes you think about all the different things he can do. Lewis, what's the key to getting the most out of his skill set, though?
Laura, I think for him, it's about, one, letting him go ahead and settle in at the Mike backer position initially, but then really using his skill set, from a week-to-week, game-to-game type of, in a week-to-week, game-to-game type of situation that gives you the best chance to win. And by that, I mean this. Look, obviously, he only played linebacker 2 years in college. He was a safety before that. But he's a guy who could really be someone who really is, a key factor stopping the inside run, stopping the outside run. If you need him to kind of move outside the box, he can cover tight ends. He can cover running backs. If you need him to blitz, he'd be a great interior blitzer. He'd be a great edge blitzer. Quite honestly, I think he'd be a great rover as a safety as well, which is a position he played already. There's a reason why I think this guy reminds me of Brian Urlacher in his transition from safety to linebacker. I think his is going to look very similar.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, he just looks like he should be an all-pro. Like, you look at him walking across the stage, you look at him in general, he looks the part. Okay, let's turn our attention to the Bucs, where some believe Tampa was able to get the steal of the first round when they drafted Ruben Bane at 15. He should fit right in with this Bucs defense that blitzed at the third highest rate in the NFL a year ago. However, they ranked only 18th in sacks, while the Vikings and Falcons ranked top 5. Bane was top 5 in the FBS last year in edge pressures and tackles for loss. GM Jason Light spoke on what Bane's versatility brings to the Buccaneers front line.
You add a player like Ruben, and he does what we hope he can do and think he can do. I should say think, not hope. You can redact that. It opens a lot of things up. It makes everybody along the D-line better when you can have two, edge presences. The line, the protections don't slide as much. You have to decide where to slide them. Opens things up.
It was cool. Actually, Jason Light was on the Pat McAfee show earlier this week, and he was saying just how excited they were that Ruben Bane Jr. was still there when they got to pick. But how important is it for Tampa to get early production from Bane?
Yeah, Laura, I mean, the 15th pick in the draft is going to come with big expectations. You could make the case that Ruben Bane needs to be about as good as any of the early first-round picks for his team to really have a chance to achieve what it wants to do. You showed that graphic where it talked about how frequently the Buccaneers blitz. That's part of Todd Bowles' DNA. But nobody wants to blitz because they can't get home with 4 rushers on occasion. They want to blitz when they can throw it in as a curveball or because they are finding ways to generate pressure otherwise. The Bucs need Ruben Bane to be good in a hurry. This team lacks a dominant edge rusher in recent drafts and recent off seasons. They've thrown resources at the pass rush. Hasn't quite come together, but this team has got a good enough offense to win the division. It's the defense that will determine that.
Yeah, the Buccaneers ranked 7th in pressures last season, but only 24th in pressures among edge rushers. This guy looks to change that. Okay, let's go to Dallas, where the Cowboys drafted Ohio State safety Caleb Downs at 11. Dallas traded up to take Caleb Downs, and it's not hard to see why, right? The Cowboys not only had the least efficient defense in the NFL last year, but they allowed a league-high 46 completions of 25-plus yards. That's good for most in the NFL, or bad, I guess. New defensive coordinator Christian Parker on how Downs can turn this secondary around.
Yeah, I mean, I think a guy like Caleb, he's a natural football player. He's one of those, first picks in the schoolyard, So he's going to have natural versatility, and it's just a matter of, what he can handle mentally and how we fit everything together. He's the same guy we had in the building on the 30 visit, same guy we saw on tape, just an intentional person, consistent, really, just flatline, Not like in terms of not having energy, but he's just consistent in terms of his approach and everything he does.
Yeah, this guy is another like ready-made pro.
Yep.
Lewis, what is it about Caleb Downs that makes him such a potential difference maker in this Dallas defense?
It's the experience, it's the football intellect, it's the communication skills. You know, you go to Ohio State and you ask Ryan Day what really makes Caleb Downs Caleb Downs. It's all those intangible things that really elevates what is already natural, God-given athletic ability. Look, there's two things that lead to explosive plays in the NFL. One is coverage busts, and the other are double moves. It's one of those two things. When a plus 20-yard play happens, it's either it was a coverage bust or more times than not, some kind of double move and a DB got burned. The one thing that he will eliminate are the coverage busts. And we saw it time and time again last year with Dallas. The miscommunication in the back end, in the middle of the field, people just running scot-free. That will change with Caleb Downs at the command and control center.
Laura, I remember the first time I talked to Caleb Downs, who was, 15 years younger than I am, and I felt like I was speaking to a grown man, an alpha. He is wired differently, that much is for sure. I think the Cowboys kind of cooked during the first round of the NFL draft. They moved up one spot to ensure they want to cook in January in the playoffs. That being said, for a team that took a lot of heat leading up to the draft about finding a way to nail it, I do believe this team at picks 11 and 23 nailed two of their most important defensive needs to help them get back to even like league average would be enough, given how good the offense is.
All right, so like cooking analogies, they're doing their meal prep right now, and then they're going to eat.
I don't cook much, so I'm going to leave that stuff to you.
I do. Thank you. Yes,
Chef.
I do. I do enjoy
Great
the kitchen.
chef.
People that are like, get back in the kitchen. I'm like, I enjoy the kitchen, so thank you. New on NFL Live, Jets offensive coordinator Frank Reich spoke today on why Geno's fit is the perfect fit in New York.
I think he fits perfect. I've liked Geno from day one. When he was coming out of West Virginia, I had a high grade on Geno. I've not met Geno before here. And I'm kind of glad because I'm even more impressed with him now meeting him in person. I feel his resilience, his toughness. If you're the right kind of leader, then you come out of it better. And I think that's the version of Geno Smith we're getting. We're getting the best version of who he is, and I think his best football's ahead of him.
Field, is Geno Smith's best football ahead of him?
Well,
are you buying that?
That's hard for me to buy, Laura, just given the fact that he's in his 30s now as a quarterback. I would say this for Geno Smith. Aaron Glenn's made comments about him taking them to the promised land. Me, like many others, is kind of thinking about the future of the Jets quarterback, perhaps in next year's draft. But for this year, that could be difficult. There's still a long way for this team to go roster-wise. One thing I think is inarguable about Geno Smith, very steadying presence, right?
Yeah.
During bad times last year, when it would have been easy probably for him to say, I'm good, let Kenny Pickett play on a bad Raiders team. He showed some toughness, battling through injury, wanting to be on the field, a respected teammate. So there will be some value for Geno Smith this season in New York.
Yeah, we got a lot of Jets going on here because coming up next on the show, we're going to hear from a great new Jet.